Today I want to share something personal. Something that happened a few months ago that really made me think about why I do what I do. And how even the oldest theory can still resonate deeply in our modern chaotic hospital reality. It started in the middle of one of those shifts, the kind where everything feels like running in quicksand. 3 acute admissions at once, a relative inconsolable on the phone, and the beeps. Oh my god, the beeps from the monitors that just never stops. I remember standing by the medication room, the fluorescent lights humming above me, and I could smell that sharp mix of disinfectants and, well, just hospital. I felt worn down to the bone. And then there was Mr. Smith in room 4. Mr. Smith was an elderly gentleman admitted with severe pneumonia. He was sweet, but also frail, and very affected by his surroundings. It was a 4-bedroom, and it was right off the busiest part of the corridor. I'd noticed it for days. Every time there was a noise in the hallway, he would flinch. Every time the alarm went off nearby, his breathing became more labored. His vitals were stable, yes, but he wasn't thriving. He was becoming more and more withdrawn, eating almost nothing. One evening, when I went to give him his antibiotics, he was lying with his eyes closed. His brow was frowned, and his hands were weakly clutching the duvet. "Mr. Smith," I said softly. He opened his eyes. They were dull. "Just noise, always noise," he whispered. "And that window, I can't see the sky." His bed faced the middle of the room. My heart sank. I knew it. Of course. We talk so much about evidence-based practice, new treatments, advanced technology. But right there, in that moment, it was as if I have heard the voice of the past. Florence Nightingale, her insistence on the importance of the environment, fresh air, light, and quiet surroundings. Things that felt like an impossible luxury on our busy ward. I felt like a failure. Here I was with all my training, my procedures, my checklist, and the most basic things, a healing environment, I couldn't offer him. I thought about Nightingale's words, that the hospital should do the patient no harm. But it felt exactly like the noise, the lack of light, and the constant commotion were actively harming Mr. Smith's fragile condition. Was I just a cog in a system that overlooked the most fundamental aspect of care? What if my busyness meant I was overlooking the most important medicine, tranquility? I stepped out into the hallway, leaned against the wall, and just had to take a deep breath to stop myself from crying. I suddenly remembered an image from a textbook. Nightingale walking the dark, quiet corridors of the military hospital with her lamp. Her focus wasn't just on wound care, but on creating conditions for healing. Fresh air, quiet, light, nutrition, cleanliness. It sounds so simple, almost banal in our high-tech world. But for Mr. Smith, it was everything he needed. I stood there thinking, is Nightingale's theory just a historical note? Or is it an essential truth we forget in our rushed world? I couldn't move him to a private room. They were all occupied. I couldn't silence the entire hospital, but I could do something. I went back into the room. "Mr. Smith," I said, sitting down on the edge of his bed. "I can't work miracles, but let's see what we can do." First, I talked to the other patients in the room, explained the situation quietly and calmly, asked if they could keep the door closed a bit more. turned down the television. They were surprisingly understanding. Then I found a pair of earplugs for Mr. Smith. Not ideal, but a start. And then I did something that felt a bit silly. I swapped his bedside table and the small cabinet next to it. It took a bit of shuffling around, but suddenly when he laid on his side, he could see out the window. From there he could see a small patch of blue sky between the buildings. I made sure the curtains were fully opened during the day. I aired out the room whenever possible, even if just a few minutes. Small things, almost invisible things in a grand hospital machinery. Over the next few days, a change happened, slowly but surely. Mr. Smith started sleeping better at night. He ate a bit more. He asked about the weather outside. One morning when I came in, he was sitting up, looking out the window. He turned to me and said, "The sun is shining today, young man." There was a little spark in his eyes. It wasn't the medication alone that was making him better. It was the sum of everything. Not as one big revolutionary act, but a small series of small conscious choices to improve his immediate environment. So what's my takeaway for you, my dear colleagues? It is this. Never forget the basics. Amidst the alarms, the complex procedures, and the time pressure, remember Florence Nightingale. Her theories aren't outdated. They address the core of nursing, creating the best possible conditions for the body and mind to heal. It doesn't have to be big changes. Can you open a window for a few minutes? Can you ensure the patient has access to daylight? Can you dim an unnecessary alarm or speak more softly in the hallway? Can you tidy the bedside table a bit so it feels less chaotic? It's about seeing the patient's surrounding through Nightingale's eyes. Asking yourself, how can I right now, with the resources I have, make this space a little more? Sometimes the greatest nursing action isn't injection a pill, but pulling back a curtain so the sun can shine in. It's acknowledging that the environment is medicine. It takes courage to insist on those little things in a busy system. You might feel ineffective, but I learned with Mr. Smith that the little things can make a world of difference. They are the essence of care. And I hope my story can help inspire you to find your own way in nursing, and one of the ways you can do that is by watching this video that will teach you much more on nursing and healthcare in general. So check it out, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you right over there.